How's it? Welcome back to the channel. So I had a comment come in on one of my older posts about hypnagogia, where this person was asking, what could he do to try keep his conscious awareness intact long enough so they can hit this stage 1 of sleep hypnagogic area, lucidly aware. And this was coming from a guy who says he always falls asleep super fast, like he'll lie in bed, 5 minutes later, brother is out, which is actually amazing. Like I wish that would happen to me more often. But it's also good if you're trying to get to the stage 1 of sleep hypnagogic area consciously aware, because it means you don't have to wait too long before you start to slip into stage 1 of sleep. So I'll talk a bit more about that here in the second half of the video. But here are a few things you can try that are basically all aimed around just trying to keep you a bit more mentally sharp. So one is you can go to sleep, like an hour or so before you typically would. You can also try taking a cold shower directly before bed just to kind of fire up your mind a bit. If you have access to a cold plunge, which I'm sure the extreme majority of you do not, but I made one for myself at my house relatively cheaply, right? I almost did this too. I was gonna save up money and try to get like a $4,000 or $5,000 like spa level cold plunge, but that's just a bit too crazy. So instead I just got like an industrial level ice maker, which I bought for like $400 or $500. You get a big enough container that you can fill with water, store up a couple coolers worth, or at least one, big cooler's worth of ice. Dump that thing in there, and that can work pretty good at making, your at-home cold plunge and, sharpen up your mind a bit. If you don't want to go that route, another simple thing you can try is you get like a 5-gallon bucket, you freeze a block of ice. Then I would definitely break up the ice so like it makes the water colder and melts faster instead of just keeping the, like one big block. Fill that 5-gallon bucket, get a ladle, and then just ladle that freezing cold 30-something degree water on yourself, and boom, that's a nice way to really like kind of jolt your system and get your mind to be a bit more sharper. And then the good thing about that is you can do that like without caffeine, but you can also use caffeine a bit to your advantage. Now, this is a slippery slope. You don't want to abuse this thing. Definitely don't be doing this every night. But if you want to dedicate like one night a week to trying to get and play around in this hypnagogic space, maybe save it for that, once a week or a couple times a month or something, where you take in, a moderate or less than like a small amount of caffeine before going to sleep. So, like a soda's worth or less, maybe like a hot tea or something like that. That can work pretty good. But then to circle back around to, being able to fall asleep really quickly. So that really is amazing. So really my main recommendation there is you just want to essentially do like a form of meditation. Find something to lock your conscious awareness to, such as, whatever's happening, the inconsistencies behind your closed eyes, which, maybe I'll talk a bit about different techniques for doing that here in the next video. But find something to lock your conscious awareness to, let your body fall asleep. And then once you start to hit stage 1 of sleep and get really close to it, these thoughts and images that are always just kind of popping up in your head, once you start getting into the stage 1 of sleep area, they'll come on a lot stronger. Now for me, I'm a very visual person, so they get like actually visual to me, but I would imagine some people might not be that visual. So maybe it comes in more like they start to get audible, or they're more tactile or something, but there will be a noticeable jump from just regular background thoughts while you're awake to when you start to slip into this stage 1 of sleep area, they get kicked up a noticeable amount. So that can work good. Another thing you can do is like you can try, like, say if you're sleeping on your back, you sleep with your elbow bent and your hand up. Then just go ahead and relax, start to fall asleep. Then once you do fall asleep, your hand will drop. And then when that drop happens, it can kind of just give you, wake you up momentarily. And then you are literally like right on the edge of sleep. So then you go ahead and you just kind of, I would probably say just pay attention to whatever's happening behind your closed eyes, which, I'll talk about in the next video. And then just wait for those thoughts to come up more stronger in this true hypnagogic sense. Lock your conscious awareness to that. And then boom, you can go ahead and play, in the hypnagogic liminal space that way. Another thing you can do like the Dolly Edison method, or like you could sit, like in a recliner or something. Hold something in your hand like they would hold like ball bearings or heavy keys or something. Just something heavy enough that when you fall asleep and your hand relaxes and it drops, you'll hear it hit the ground. You can even put like a metal plate or something underneath your hand, so it makes a louder noise. And that can wake you up. And the same thing, like your arm falling when you fall asleep, you're directly on the edge of hypnagogia. And for like Dolly Edison method, they would basically just kind of use retrospective memory. I think that's it. But then they just kind of go back to see whatever the flashes of hypnagogia that were coming up as they fell asleep. But then also, instead of just waiting for that flash of hypnagogia, you could just go ahead, relax, and then wait for the full-on images to come. Learn to keep your conscious awareness intact, stay lucid in there, and then, play around in that space. So a few things to try. Hope that helps. Thanks for the question. And until the next video, keep your meditation practices and the lucid dreaming practice legit.